All right, yesterday, Aljamain Sterling had Jamahal HIll and Nazim Sajikov on his podcast, during which they got on the topic of judging and scoring criteria in mixed martial arts. In this conversation, Jamahal HIll had to literally educate Aljamain Sterling on the scoring criteria, unfortunately to no avail, because even though Aljamain Sterling hears what Jamahal has to say, he still disagrees, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about it in this video. Now, the purpose of this video is not really to go after Aljamain Sterling. I do that quite frequently, but listen, dude, every time he opens his mouth, he says something unbelievably stupid. It's not my fault. Okay, dude, he can't help himself. But regardless, what this video is intended to do is to just to show you that there are championship level fighters in the sport, at the highest level of the sport, in the UFC, that don't even understand the scoring criteria, and it might speak to some of the styles that we see more than others. I also want to give full credit to Jamahal HIll, because he might be the only fighter that I've actually heard articulate this to another fighter in the way that he did and be correct about it, by the way. I understand that Jamahal HIll was absolutely filled with copium and salt following the loss to Alex Pereira. I know a bunch of people now dislike him because of it. To me, that's water under the fridge. It was a good long ways ago. And, you know, I like I said, I want to give credit where it's due, because I've never heard another fighter actually articulate the scoring criteria to another fighter that disagrees with them in the way that Jamahal HIll did. Unfortunately, Aljamain Sterling just doesn't want to listen. So I'm going to start from 33:16. Now, I've only got it sped up a tiny bit, okay, because unfortunately, Aljamain Sterling's podcast audio is not very good. And if I speed it up too much, we won't understand anything that they are saying, okay? So I'm going to hit play and we will go from there.
So Jake wants me to ask this. He said O'Malley's saying he won the fight. Does he have any merit, or is he just capping?
Now, I know people get triggered when I pause the video this quickly, okay? But I don't really care. If you want to go watch the original, go watch the original, my guy. Don't come to a react video to complain about the reaction, all right? But either way, Aljamain Sterling's podcast producer and his friends that surround him, I think, hate Aljo. I think they're controlled opposition. I think that they want him to be despised by as many people as possible, because I don't understand why they continue to bring up topics like these, knowing that Aljamain Sterling is completely delusional when it comes to these things. Now, look, I'm not one of these people that think Sean O'Malley should have gotten the win over Merab, but I think it was a lot closer than people are willing to give it credit for. But I don't get why this producer keeps doing this to him, okay? Because every time he opens his mouth about something, especially involving Sean O'Malley, he sounds like the saltiest guy on the planet, okay? He just does, and people roast him for it. Now, also, later on, he goes on to talk about how, you know, people from the Caucasus region are like considered black people in the East. And, you know, maybe he's right. I don't know. But you know what I do know is I'm not going to take his word for it after hearing his, you know, his version of events when it comes to the history of South Africa. So like, I just don't get why he feels the need to talk on these subjects that he doesn't know anything about, and I don't get why the podcast producer keep pushing it. But either way,
I think he's just trolling. He's just trolling.
You think that's honestly just troll? You think there's
trolling.
no truth behind how he really feels?
I mean, shit, bro. But nobody's more biased than you to yourself. So I guess if he watched it, if he was able to watch,
I think Aljamain, you could see the eyebrow raise when Jamahal HIll said that. I think Aljo thought, because has a bit of this like fragility going on when it comes to thinking that he's like the victim in every single situation. I think he thought Jamahal HIll was talking about him. Jamahal HIll is speaking in the general sense. Nobody's more biased than you when you were watching your own fight. And I do like that he's willing to admit this, knowing some of the things that he said about his loss to Alex Pereira. But you could see Aljo's eyebrows go like, wait, what did you just say? As if Jamahal HIll was talking about him. He lets him go on, and I think Jamahal HIll is able to clarify it. But
watch it and yeah, I don't fucking know, bro. Nah.
Do you think there's any chance you give him
I think he
2-3 rounds?
Bro, now, at first, originally watching the fight.
I can't believe this, bro. I can't believe we're having this conversation.
Yo, it's hilarious.
The other day, this one guy goes to me. He goes, you know, we've rewatched the fight, and O'Malley took 3 rounds. I just left. I just went upstairs. I went to sleep.
No,
like,
3. I can't give him 3. Now, originally, like I thought, like 2 was like how. I could kind of see how they gave him 2. The 5th.
Absolutely based from Jamahal HIll, by the way. No, I can't give him 3, but I can see how they gave him 2 rounds. By the way, this is the take I agree with. I think I would give him rounds 3 and rounds 5 of that fight. And I don't understand why this is controversial at all. You can win a round very closely And I understand that it looks close on paper if you have a decision read 48-47, but you could also acknowledge that the rounds that somebody, take two random fighters. If it was a 48-47, but those rounds were won much more closely than other rounds, you can still walk away with the feeling like it was a pretty one-sided affair while having a 48-47 scorecard. And Jamahal Hill's the only one willing to push back on this narrative. You can see Aljamain does not look very pleased. He's like, really? Are you serious? This is not a crazy opinion. This is not a hot take. I said this first thing Sunday morning. I thought that the fight was 48-47, and I do not understand why people have an issue with it. Okay, and Jamahal Hill's about to explain, but again, to no avail, unfortunately. But it's crazy to me that somebody like Aljamain Sterling, like I said, a champion who defended his belt multiple times, does not understand the scoring criteria, and nor does Nazim Sadikov apparently.
The fifth round with the teeth to the body, a little bit.
That was the only thing he did.
Understandable, but if we're going round by round basis, there wasn't much. You know what I mean, nothing. Well, there wasn't much in that fifth round.
Yeah,
But
Merab took him down that fifth round.
He did.
But Merab took him down. Jamahal Hill rightly points out, in round 5, Sean O'Malley landed, not just one, by the way, but there was one kick in particular. I just need my desk. I apologize. One teep in particular that you could tell had a serious impact on Merab. He made a sound, he curled up his gut, and he got on his fucking bike. Okay? Now, in the scoring criteria, it states that the person who is closest to finishing the fight in that round wins that round based on impact and damage. And Jamahal Hill's correct about that. And he landed multiple teeps throughout the course of that round. And Aljamain Sterling's rebuttal is, yeah, but Merab took him down. That doesn't mean a fucking thing. And what bothers me about this conversation is there's going to be times where Jamahal Hill then has legitimate counters to the things that Aljamain Sterling is saying, and he'll agree in the moment, but then when it comes to the overall subject, he still disagrees, which I don't understand how you can agree with what Jamahal Hill's about to say and then yet still disagree.
Take him down, but a takedown is just a position change.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
But he landed some strikes in it.
He did land some strikes.
He landed some. What does that matter, bro? Were they impactful? Did he damage Sean O'Malley in that 5th round? Was he raining down shots to the point where O'Malley was, on the verge of getting TKO'd? No, he didn't. Sean O'Malley in that 5th round had Merab on his bike, hurt him badly to the body, continued to teep him to the body. Merab also was struggling to get him down in that round and the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken, and didn't do much else in the way of damage at all. Do you know what I mean? And then, Aljamain Sterling gets told, well, you realize that's just a position change. Yeah, of course, but he did land a few strikes. Those aren't damaging, though. Merab was landing, stay busy strikes so you don't get stood up. Not vicious ground and pound. At some points he was, but not in round 5.
But we're talking damage. If we going, I'm just looking at this objectively, right?
Yep.
So we're talking like damage. Who looked like they had a better chance at finishing in that round?
Yeah,
Like
if you're gonna look at it like that, then
yeah.
I can see that point.
Yeah, if you're going to look at it like that. Yeah, you mean the way you're supposed to look at it, Aljamain Sterling. I don't understand. You're a champion. What the fuck are we talking about here? How do you not know the scoring criteria? That's how you're supposed to... Yeah, I guess if you look at it like that. No, that's how you're supposed to look at it, my guy. It's literally written in the scoring criteria. You should read them. Okay, you should read it. And I do think that this is... this speaks to Jamahal Hill's style as a fighter. This guy, when Jamahal Hill goes out there, he's not trying to win a decision or a contest or control the fight. He's trying to hurt you. Do you know what I mean? He's trying to cause damage. And even when he loses, it's in ways where he is having damage inflicted upon him. He's not trying to play it safe. He's not laying on top of you, just trying to steal rounds, running out the clock, just neutralizing you. He wants to knock you out, okay? And he does most of the time. Or he has a performance like he had against Glover. Or on the flip side, when he loses, you watch his arm get dislocated against Paul Craig. He continues to try to fight on, or gets knocked out by Alex Pereira because he's in there trying to hurt his opponent. Whereas Aljamain Sterling just cannot wrap his head around that concept. He just can't do it. Do you know what I mean? But Jamahal Hill's style is more conducive to the way you were supposed to score fights. Especially compared to a guy like Aljamain Sterling, but he just can't wrap his head around that concept, even though it is written plain as fucking day.
But then I also have to wonder, when you get a takedown and you land some ground strikes and you have the control time, how much of that do you need to...
Control time! This guy's bringing up control time. I don't understand it. Control time is the last thing you are supposed to look at. If all else is equal, Did somebody have more control time? If control time is equal, was somebody else pressing the action, meaning moving forward, octagon aggression? Control time means dick. It means nothing. You're not even supposed to consider it unless all else is equal. Okay. Jamahal Hill looks disappointed because he's like, fuck, man, I just explained the rules to you. I know what they are, and you're saying nothing.
Override or take over the deficit to now be ahead, where the guy landed one teep kick to the body, and that was supposed. I mean, he landed a teep kick, couldn't do nothing after that. So it's like
a few teep kicks. He touched.
He landed a few teep kicks. It wasn't just one. He continued to blast that body kick. Merab was on his bike, like I said, arms down low. It was the closest moment either of them were to finishing the fight, if we're in all honesty. Do you know what I mean?
He touched him with the teep about maybe 3 times. Like 3 times, and Merab didn't have a really good reaction to it. But as far as taking somebody, when you get them down, right, and you do land the shots, are they superficial shots? Are these concussive shots? It depends on how you land shots. Just like when you're standing up, I can be peppering you with a jab. But if you cracking my shit, you know what I'm saying? Even if I'm peppering you with a jab, and every so often, bang, I'm getting hit, and I'm having a big reaction, I don't know how to score that. That could sway.
I don't know how to score. It literally tells you how to score that, my guy. It literally tells you how to score that, my guy. If I'm landing leg kicks for 4 minutes, okay, just little, not Alex Pajeda leg kicks, just leg kicks, just feelers, just rangefinders, just trying to stay at distance, and you land a big overhand right and you drop me, or like Jamahal Hill says, you crack my shit, if I'm all rocked and hurt, and there's a moment where people genuinely think you're about to finish the fight, you win that round. That's how it's scored. You should not be saying, I don't know how to score that. Bro, this is your job. Read the rules, for crying out loud. And again, credit to Jamahal Hill. He's not backing off on this point, and I appreciate it. Okay, because he's sitting across, or, with 2 guys that clearly disagree with him, right? If I'm not mistaken, Nazim Sadikov is a teammate of Aljamain Sterling. He already gave his take at the beginning of this. He doesn't even understand how we're having this conversation, but it's like, Jamahal Hill could have easily just been like, you know what, yeah, you're right, and just backed off of it because there's no point in arguing, but he's not. He knows he's right, because unlike these 2 guys, Jamahal Hill has clearly read the scoring criteria, and he's trying to explain it to them in a very respectful way, by the way. He's trying to educate them. They're not listening.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I can see the thing. And then the other round, I'd say, I don't know if it was the second or the third round where he couldn't really get him. He didn't really get him down. So from there, he didn't get him down. And O'Malley was a little bit more forward in that round. And he was trying to find some shots in that round, more so than Merab was actually imposing on him in that round. So to a degree, I can see that. Do I think, like I said, when I originally watched it and they said he
48, 47.
Yeah, that was strange to me. It didn't sound right to me. But I guess I can kind of see it. But as far as
I feel like that's how a lot of people felt in the moment, right? Where, like I said in the opening, you've got 3 rounds, or whatever. The majority of the rounds won by one fighter in a very one-sided fashion, and those get scored 10-9. And this could be a critique of the scoring criteria. And then you have a fighter who does just enough, edges out a round, and it gets scored the same. So at the end of that fight, I'm sure there was a lot of people that felt like that was a very one-sided affair. Because of those rounds. The way that Merab won rounds were not as close as the way that Sean O'Malley won rounds. But that doesn't matter. It's like these guys don't understand how the scorecards work either. I literally heard Kamaru Usman complain that it was a split decision because it was 48-47. That's not how that works, Kamaru. Just because the judges are split on the rounds doesn't mean it was a split decision. All 3 judges scored it for Merab. Period. Unanimous decision. That's what that means, right? But and that's another champion, by the way, who doesn't understand that when you have a 48-47 scorecard, that does not mean a split decision, right? Like, it's wild to me. And again, people fixate on the idea of 48-47. Oh, they were only 1 round apart. Yeah, but again, how dominant were the rounds that someone else won versus how dominant were those, or how close did they win those rounds? That's why you can still walk away from a 48-47 decision feeling like that was a very one-sided fight.
I'm winning the fight now.
I gave it 50-45.
See, I gave it 50-45. He does not know how to score fights. He doesn't. And this probably actually speaks to a lot of the shit we hear from Aljamain Sterling. He acts like he gets shit on unjustifiably so in so many options. He doesn't, or in so many different occasions. He doesn't understand how somebody could score the Cejudo fight close. He doesn't understand how people think that Petr Yan won the second fight. I do. Do you know what I mean? And it's because exactly of what Jamahal Hill said. The deciding round in the rematch between Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan was round number 1. Aljamain Sterling outstruck him numerically. Didn't get him down. No control time. None of that. In my opinion, round number 1, Petr Yan landed more damaging blows, right? Aljamain Sterling did not and you know what? There would probably be a threat. It's probably a threshold argument. If Aljamain Sterling outstrikes you by like 40 strikes in a round, but you landed a few good ones that were more impactful, I don't know that you would score that round for the opposing fighter. But when you have Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling, and they're, separated by a few single digits, right? I think it was 6 strikes. I could be mistaken. I think it was 11-7 significant strikes. You've got Petr Yan landing more damaging shots. I weigh those as more. Right? I just do, because they're causing impact. They're causing damage. Whereas Aljo was kind of just touching him on his bike, moving at range. Not the same shit. 50-45. What are we talking about here? 5-zip? Are you serious, dude? In the round where Merab was running because, his body was about to shut down on him from a teep kick, in what way do you give that round to Merab?
Hey, here's the thing.
I gotta watch it again.
And I'm not gonna say you're wrong for that.
No, I will say I have to watch it again, because I know some people are gonna say you're being salty. I'm like, no, I'm not being salty. When I was there, K-side, it looked like O'Malley did dick. Like,
right.
He didn't,
because whatever
Merab wanted to do shit, but he did nothing, bro. And people are so high on O'Malley that he'll land the jab, and it's the biggest. It'll go viral. It'll be the biggest news. He did not win that fight. He got dominated. He got taken down, beat up. Merab moved on the feet. He touched him up also. Okay, Merab is not the cleanest striker. O'Malley's a cleaner striker, no doubt. I thought that O'Malley, I'm going to be honest, I was nervous that if Merab doesn't have his way, if he gets in a little bit too reckless, he was going to get sniped. Yeah, that was my only thing. That didn't happen. He did nothing to him. A teep kick in the 5th round. Oh, he won.
No, I don't think not.
That's not even that was the biggest fucking straw man I've seen get created in real time. This guy, as he was speaking, was just shoving straw together to create that. I don't understand that. People are not saying he won because of a teep kick in the 5th round, by the way, but also that would make him win round 5. Rob did not land anything damaging or impactful. A takedown does not win you a round, and Sean O'Malley was the one that was closer to finishing the fight in round 5. I don't agree with the narrative that Sean O'Malley should have won 3 rounds to 2. But I sure as shit don't agree with 50-45. Okay? And this is another weird thing. Listen, I'm only fixating on this because it proves that championship level fighters don't know how the scoring criteria works. And I think that's insane to me. Okay? But these guys fixating on this shit as if the scorecards matter when all 3 judges had Merab winning the fight are out of their mind. What does it matter? Truly. Like, what does it matter at this point? Do you know what I mean? It's crazy to me. But again, Jamahal Hill, look at that hand. Like, Jamahal Hill is the only correct one in this situation. And it's unfortunate that they're not going to listen to him, but
that round. I'm
not saying it was 5-zip. I would say it was 4-1. Yeah. If you want to, even the most biased judges in the world. Okay, 3-2. Right?
No, not the most biased judges in the world, my guy. The most objective judges, the most accurate judges that are actually going by the scoring criteria, not the criteria from 15 years ago, where, Merab probably 15 years ago wins all 5 easy because they weighed takedowns and control time a lot more than they used to, or previously than they do now, which is it's just insane to me. You guys they're professional fighters. How do you not know this shit?
48-47, even though that sounds crazy, but
it did sound crazy because for most of the fight, it was Merab had his way. Like, it wasn't like, but like that's what I'm saying. Like the moments where I'm saying that it's like, all right, it could have. Merab was still doing what he wanted to do. It's just what he was doing just wasn't like pouring it onto him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't fully implementing himself onto him. Like that.
Yeah, I never really felt O'Malley had a moment where you could tell he was controlling the fight. He had that one good step in knee.
And there it goes again. Like, this is what he cannot understand, the concept of damage and impact and how the fight is supposed to be scored. There wasn't a moment in that fight in which I thought O'Malley was controlling the fight. You don't need to control the fight. You don't need to. Control time does not count for shit, my guy. And Jamahal Hill knows this, because Jamahal Hill is a damage-based fighter. He is trying to fucking take your head off. And I understand that for someone like Aljo, this is a tricky concept to understand. But you need to read the rules, okay, dude? You need to read the rules. This is your job.
that Merab was able to get his hand up and his head out the way. It was like glancing. And then the one teep. I know he was doing a couple teeps, but the one that actually landed solid. And then even when Merab was hurt, him chasing him, he couldn't do anything after that. So it was just like, all right, how hurt is he if you can't even land nothing after that? So I'm watching. I'm like, dude, I feel like I don't know.
Well, Merab, how hurt is he if he's literally running away? Which is against the rules, by the way. There could be a world where a referee gives Merab at the very least a warning. If you do that in one championship, you might get a yellow card. You can't just run. Do you know what I mean? That's timidity. That's the timidity rule. But how hurt is he if he's literally like does not want to engage with Sean O'Malley? He was clearly hurt, dude. He was clearly hurt. And also, for Aljo to say the only thing that O'Malley landed was that one knee and the teep is wild to me. That means this guy does not know what he's looking at on the feet. He just doesn't know. O'Malley landed good shots to the body. He was like, do you know what I mean? There's a bunch of it's wild to me. Wild to me. And again, I'm not saying O'Malley won. I'm saying it's pathetic that a championship level fighter does not know the fucking scoring criteria.
Had such a big lead. I don't think I kind of know by the look of him. He was posting those last 2 minutes in the fifth round. He was just trying to move. He was just trying to.
Didn't want to make a mistake.
He didn't want to make a mistake, and he knows O'Malley's going to be desperate, which is why he started coming forward so aggressively in the end of the fifth round, and that's how he ended up landing the teep kick in the first place. It was in the last 2 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's like the most dominant O'Malley's looked in the entire fight. So the other 23 minutes leading up to that, to give a minute or two to O'Malley, but everything else was just pure domination.
That's why, for me, there's no question to me. Merab won that fight. There's no ifs, ands, but Merab won. Merab is the champion. Merab is the best man.
If the shoe was on the other foot, O'Malley's taking him down 50 times, elbowing him, kissing on his back. There would be no conversation about Merab win 1-3-5. The only reason we're having this conversation is because Sean O'Malley, big superstar, and that's why we even are having the conversation that maybe he won the fight.
Hey, I've been on the other end of how a fight can be looked at when you fighting a superstar too. You know what I'm saying?
I see in there, Jamahal Hill's still a little delusional about that loss. Okay, but by the way, this is such fucking bullshit from this guy. Like, no, it's not because it's Sean O'Malley, dude. It's because people are frustrated and sick of watching dudes take somebody down, do nothing, and win a fight that way. Because it goes against the scoring criteria. It just does. And even the way that he frames this, that happened in the last 2 minutes of round number 5, which means for 23 minutes, Merab was winning that fight. And maybe you could give a few minutes to Sean O'Malley here and there. Bro, all you need is like 30 seconds to win a round, legitimately. If you were controlled for 4 minutes and your opponent did not do any damage, you get back to your feet and you drop him, you win that fucking round. Okay? That's how it works. So what are these arguments, dude? Oh, he controlled most of the fight. Oh, he won 20 minutes out of 20. Like, that doesn't matter. There's 5 separate fights within a fight. We're not counting them overall. Jamahal Hill's correct here, and I appreciate him pushing back, even though he did it respectfully, and he didn't get, there was no heated moments in this conversation or anything like that, but I appreciate that he kept trying to no, this is why it would be seen that way, because this is how that happens, and this is why that, and, I appreciate it, because, like I said earlier, he's the only fighter, I think, that I've ever heard actually articulate the scoring criteria correctly. I don't hear fighters do it at all. They just don't understand. A lot of them have the same thought about it as Aljamain Sterling, and it's just incorrect. And I think that this is why we see a lot of that style implemented, because they think, oh, well, if I can, and listen, there is a way you can win fights with that, right? Like, if you take your opponent down and you hold them there for the entirety of the round and they're not able to do damage, but you didn't really do a whole lot of damage, well, then the judges, I'll just stalled out for a second, have to move to the next criteria, in which they will start to look at takedowns, control time, etc., right? And so if you neutralize them for the entirety of the round, but that's not what we're talking about here. Again, I don't think Sean O'Malley won that fight. I just don't. I thought it was 3-2 to Merab Dvalishvili, and I don't understand why that's a hot take. And, like I said, appreciate Jamahal Hill. Credit where it's due. Water under the fridge. I know he's delusional, but that's okay, dude. That you might need to be a little delusional. Do you know what I mean? But Aljamain Sterling, seriously, dude, read the fucking rules. Read the rules, especially when you have a channel in which you view yourself as like an analytical person. You are analyzing fights, you are breaking down shit, and you don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, when it comes to technique, especially when it comes to jiu-jitsu, Aljamain Sterling's going to know what he's talking about. But when we're talking about scoring criteria, and you're sitting here in 2024 talking about control time, you're out of your fucking mind. Okay? You just are. And like I said earlier as well, we heard what he said about South Africa's history. He makes a lot of errors, and he never really takes full accountability for them. He'll make a little pinned comment addressing him, like, oh, I was wrong here. But it's insane to me. But championship fighters not knowing the scoring criteria. Crazy. Anyways, dude, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.